Okay everyone, welcome back to On the Shelf. So sorry I've been gone for quite a while. There's been a lot going on recently. I don't know if you've noticed, but the world seems to be ending or, something. But I've had a lot going on before this as well. I moved house, so as you can tell there's a bit of a different setup. I've only got the one shelf. The other one is behind the camera. I'm going to do a later video to kind of show you what my new setup looks like. But anyway, let's get down to it. So with everything that's going on at the minute, it kind of makes sense that, anime and manga fans, we kind of use this medium to escape from, the troubles of the world. So with the state of the world, I always kind of tend to choose things that will either relax me or things that seem way worse than, everything else that's going on in real life, to put things in a bit of context. So outside of manga, I'm actually currently reading The Stand by Stephen King, which is actually a book about the end of the world, and it's to do with a virus. So, I'm either a glutton for punishment or I kind of have a weird sort of way of coping with things. And the reason that I am reviewing this series is for a similar reason. So the series that I'm reviewing today is called The Kingdom of the Gods, and I was really grateful to Viz Media actually for sending me a review copy of this. So this is just the first volume of this series. It's not quite released yet, but I think it's out very, very soon. And it's actually a manhwa and a webcomic. So for people who don't know, manga are traditionally created by Japanese creators and manhwa are created by Korean creators. And this is by a Korean author and a Korean artist, but it was actually done initially as a webcomic and released solely online, and now Viz Media have the rights and they're publishing it. So the series is about a young prince who's on the run from some assassins who are trying to kill him in order to take over control of his kingdom. And he's being escorted by a lone kind of hired samurai, swordsman if you like, that he's paying to protect him and get him to a local village. Now on the way to this village they stumble upon a small town where there are very few inhabitants. And in this small town, there's an old man and his daughter, and they are actually eating human flesh. They're cooking it and they're eating it knowingly. And this is because they're starving. They're starving and they have nothing else to eat. But as a result of this, when night falls, the dead come back to life. So it's kind of a disease that's created through this, starvation that's causing people to come back to life after they die. What ensues after this is obvious carnage. It's really violent, it's quite gory, and it's pretty reminiscent to every zombie flick or, series that you've ever watched or read in your life. Something like this would normally, really pique my interest. And that's why I initially expressed interest in reading this story. I tweeted about it. I kind of have it on my Amazon wish list, and it was something, that when Viz Media sent me the review copy, I was really, really excited to read, because, a combination of like manga and zombies is always something that I haven't seen a lot of, aside from I Am a Hero and High School of the Dead, if you kind of count that. But nothing's really kind of scratched that itch for me that sort of series like The Walking Dead, do. There's nothing quite as grand as that in the manga community, and I'm always looking for something that will really break out, because zombies are a personal favorite thing of mine. I really love zombie films. I've seen most zombie films that exist, and I really, really love, just kind of the whole survival aspect of it. I love, the way that the characters interact and how they deal with disaster. And I thought that this would be kind of, appropriate and would really kind of, help me escape from the troubles of the world. And sadly, it didn't live up to my expectations. So my problem with The Kingdom of the Gods is it has a lot going on, and it has a lot of aspects to it that you would usually love. Like, it has samurai, it has action, and it has zombies. but it's not really, you know, well versed in any of those areas. Like, in my opinion, it draws a lot of inspiration from similar series, and it kind of mimics what it thinks the audience would like, as opposed to doing anything truly original. Now, I don't know whether this is just, you know, a result of the fact that there's so much out there right now in terms of this sort of stuff, that you kind of are oversaturated with it. But at the same time, part of me definitely thinks that there's just something that feels really kind of premeditated with this, and it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like the author had, you know, a really kind of inspired idea, and they definitely just wanted to create something that was popular. For example, none of the characters really are fleshed out in the first volume. I mean, this might change later on, but there was no real motive. It was kind of, you're thrown in straight away with, oh, they're on this journey to this town, but I had no real backstory to the prince, so I didn't really care what happened to him. And his companion was a bit of a douche. Like, he doesn't really do anything except for, you know, the money. And maybe this is the author's way of trying to make him have some sort of catharsis or some sort of revelation later on, where he realizes that he doesn't need the money and he actually cares for the boy. But there's no instant connection there with the characters, and I didn't really care for either of them. Also, in terms of the kind of samurai vibe, like, I've read a lot of samurai series, and this just isn't really, it doesn't really cut it, for lack of a better phrase. For example, Vagabond is just, you know, miles above in terms of art and in terms of characters, in my opinion. And then at the same time, Blade of the Immortal has that sort of, not gimmick, that like supernatural aspect to it as well, which it just does so much better than this. So another thing I forgot to mention is the swordsman who's leading this child to the town. He actually becomes blind when the night falls, to make things a little bit more difficult for him. And I think that that was just sort of thrown in there as an afterthought almost, to kind of try and make it a little bit different. Like, oh, we've got samurais, we've got zombies, like, what else can we do? Let's just add something else to the pot and hope that it sticks. Do you know what I mean? And it didn't pay off, like, at all. Okay, next, the kind of zombie thing, the zombie side of it. It's like, yeah, cool, like, I still love zombies. The way they're drawn is pretty cool, but there's nothing to it. They're just there. They kind of serve no purpose, in my opinion. It's like, there's, you know, I would prefer it if they told a really good story about trying to kind of get to this town and the reasons behind it, as opposed to just, well, this doesn't seem that interesting, so we need something else to throw in. And the zombies kind of feel like that, at least at the moment. Also, I feel like I've seen the story of, let's guide this child to this other place, like, a lot of times before. Like, I remember, I think Tales of Earthsea has something similar going on. Sword of the Stranger is definitely an inspiration for this, I think. And then even Blade of the Immortal, the guy's a hired swordsman that's helping someone out. And then you've got like Samurai Champloo, and I mean, all these series are fantastic, and they all must have drawn inspiration from each other. But this one kind of does it, but it does it in such a lazy way that I don't care to kind of carry on and see where it goes. Okay, finally, to mention, the first volume is pretty short. Like, it doesn't really go very far in the first volume, and that was pretty disappointing. I was kind of hoping for a bit of a cliffhanger that would make me want to read the next volume, but it doesn't. It sort of falls flat, and before you know it, there's another 4-chapter series thrown at the end of the volume called Burning Hell. It's the same authors, same creators, but by this point, I was so disappointed with, the Kingdom of the Gods that I couldn't be bothered to read it. I did look through it. It looks like a pretty violent sort of series, but I don't really care to kind of, just as something else started to get going and it ended, I didn't care to then read something else. So maybe I'll go back and see if that's any good, but considering it's 4 chapters, I'm not going to hold out hope too much. Okay, so yeah, just to kind of summarize, I think that some people might really like this. If you're not really read too many horror, zombie series, you might really enjoy this. And I'm maybe being a bit too harsh because it is a first volume. This might get better as time goes on. The art style is pretty cool. Like, the action scenes are really well done. and the zombies, you know, the way they're designed is pretty cool, but at the same time it was quite obvious to me that it was a webcomic. Like, it didn't stand up against some other series in terms of its art style, and yeah, maybe I've just read so much manga that I am overly critical, but I think if you really kind of like compare it to some other series, it's just not, it's not, you know, up to scratch. So yeah, I was pretty bummed out, to be honest, to say the least, that I was looking for something to kind of draw my attention away from everything that was going on. But I just really wanted to put out a video for you guys to let you know that I'm okay, everything's fine here. You know, no one's ill, at least in my immediate family and that I know of. And I just wanted to kind of say that I'm going to be putting out videos, but probably a bit slower than normal. And I'm pretty sure that everyone understands there's a lot more going on at the moment and there's more to worry about. So yeah, if you're looking for something that you want to kind of draw your attention away from everything at the minute, I perhaps wouldn't go with The Kingdom of the Gods. But what I will recommend is a few other things. So what I've been reading at the moment is a series called After the Rain, which is a little cute romance series. Yeah, it's really different, but that's been quite good in taking my mind off things. And then also, like I said, I've been reading The Stand. If you like something that kind of puts it into context and makes you kind of think, well, it's not all that bad, then that might be something good to visit. Similarly, if you're looking for something that is samurai based, then I would definitely go with Blade of the Immortal or Vagabond for that kind of vibe. But then, yeah, I just think whatever you enjoy, then, you know, if it helps you take your mind off things, then it's doing the trick. And for me, it's been lots of Dragon Ball Z, as per usual, and then maybe the occasional romance and horror series. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what it is you've been reading to take your mind off everything. And yeah, stay safe out there, guys, and I will catch you next time.